All right, in that last video, I did all of the basic and fundamental plyometrics, but if you're ready to move past that and you've mastered those, then we're gonna move on to some more advanced plyometrics. As soon as we start getting to advanced plyometrics like these that I'm about to do, it really is just nervous system training. Like the muscles that are being trained in the basic ones, like I did in the last video, it's the same muscles. It really is just the coordination and, being able to have full body control. So that's really what we're training here, which is a very important part of being athletic and being fast, all right? You can't be fast and you can't have good form and you can't, explode out the blocks correctly if you're not coordinated, if you don't have full control of your body and what it does. So the nervous system is super important to train, and that's really what we're gonna be training here. Obviously, some muscle groups are gonna be different, but mainly it's all the same muscles. It's just the coordination and training the nervous system. So that's what we're gonna be getting into in this one. I'm not gonna be amazing at every single one of these because I don't train these. I don't train this way, but I will be demonstrating them for you because, I know there are people who do need these. So these are the top 10 advanced plyos. Starting at number 5 is probably where we're gonna start hitting more nervous system training, but the first 5 are great, just normal advanced plyometrics. And then once we hit 5, we're getting more nervous system. So let's go. All right, I'm gonna be watching this video with you guys just to break down some specifics. I promise not to talk too much, but let's go. We got first one is seated box single leg vertical jumps. The primary focus of these ones, we are applying vertical single leg force. And the primary focus of these ones are to help improve single leg force without any momentum. A lot of the times in sprinting and in a lot of plyometrics, you have momentum going into the next rep. Whereas with these, as you can see here, we have no momentum doing these because we're seated on a box and we're just applying vertical force with one leg, which is also going to directly correlate to block starts and coming out the blocks because we're going to have to apply a lot of force without any momentum coming out the blocks, and these are going to help with that. And as you saw there, I came off of the ground without letting my heel touch the ground, right? So I'm keeping that dorsiflexion while I'm in the air, and then I apply all that force through the ball of my foot, just like you would when you're sprinting. Another way that you guys can do these is to land on 2 legs. If it's too hard for you to land on 1 leg, then it's totally fine to land on 2 legs. It's just not going to be as beneficial. We're not getting that force absorption through that single leg, which you can obviously get from other plyometrics. Like the next plyo we're going to get into has single leg force absorption. So you don't necessarily need it on these, but you definitely do need to be training single leg force absorption because that's half of what sprinting is. Everyone only ever talks about single leg force production, but you can't apply that force until you absorb the force when you sprint. So we're applying that here in this case of doing the single leg seated box jumps. All right, number 2 is single leg banded assisted pogos. Let me break these down. So these are going to be extremely important because when you run, you are applying so much force and there's so much weight that is being put on just one foot within a very short period of time, within a small ground contact, which is what we're training here. Now, it is really hard to do single leg pogos if you're not doing it with an assisted band. All right, I've never seen anyone do them. All right, you can't really do them efficiently or get any height on these. So these ones are applying vertical force as much as we can. We are going for height, and the thing that we want to be thinking about the most here is not letting our heels touch the ground and keeping a short ground contact time. All right, so putting as much force in the ground within the shortest amount of time as possible here, and these are going to be simulating sprinting at top speed. Because sprinting at top speed, not only are you holding your entire body weight, but you're pushing into the ground as hard as you can. So our ankles need to be able to handle that. And this is what's going to prepare our ankles and our Achilles to be able to handle top speed sprinting. I would not recommend doing these without the assisted band. You're not going to be able to do it efficiently or get enough height on them. All right, next we got number 3, single leg depth drop, 2 single leg broad jump. Now, the reason why these ones are going to be so important is because we're dropping down from a box onto the ball of our foot, which is already simulating top speed sprinting, because the higher the box, the more force we're going to have to absorb. And right now, we're forcing ourselves to absorb that force within a short amount of time and then produce it horizontally. So in all the other plyos so far, we've been producing force vertically. but this one we're producing force horizontally, which is going to be directly correlated to sprinting, which is why I love these ones so much, and it's single leg. So this is really as close as our ankles and feet are going to get to feeling what it's like to sprint. And these are going to be directly preparing them because it's horizontal force, not vertical. It's good to train both, but horizontal. So let's see how this works. You want to control the landing a little bit more. Like that one was better. The more you can control the landing, the better. Okay, as you can see here, I don't know if you guys know this, but when you sprint, a lot of people say you need to keep dorsiflexion the whole time when you're sprinting. But if you really zoom in close on the foot when someone's sprinting, yes, they keep dorsiflexion the whole time. But if this is the ground and this is their foot, then they always end up plantar flexing at the last second. That's just how it works. If you were to keep a dorsiflexion and try to produce force that way, then your heel would be striking. Just because there's so much force being applied, our foot has to plantar flex before it can produce that force and before it can absorb that force. All right, so that's what we're doing here as well. See, it's dorsiflexed right now, but I would not be able to put that foot like that on the ground, or else I would be heel striking immediately. So as you can see, I'm gonna plantar flex and spring off of that plantar flex. All right, that's what we're training because that's directly correlated to top speed sprinting. So let's watch that again, actually. Using aggressive arms, doing everything I can to get as far as I can on a single leg. Those are beautiful. All right, next we got Pogo Box Touches, 12 to 16 reps, 5 sets. You'll see on most of these, I have super low reps and super high sets, and that's because when you're doing such an aggressively fast exercise that requires so much energy to do and so much, coordination, you can't do high reps, right? You can't, because then you're just going to get taxed and you're not going to be able to do it properly, and you're not going to be able to get as much out of it. So we want to be resting full on all of these, and we want to be doing low reps, high sets. All right, these are a little bit different. 12 to 16 on these is not that high because you'll see it's just a pogo. It's basically just pogos. These ones took me a few tries. These are not easy. Again, we're really training the coordination here and the body control. But what we're wanting to do here is just touch the box and get off. All right, we don't want to put a lot of weight on the box. Take 3 on these. Yeah, sometimes I miss the box completely, you'll see, and that's not what we want. We want to be able to, touch and get off. Touch and get off. There, I missed the box completely. But as you can see here, I'm about to break this down. This is so important for this exercise. You need to hit the ground with both of your feet at the exact same time. If you don't do that, you won't be able to complete the next rep of it. Like, you just won't. You'll see here, each one of these times, my feet are touching the ground at the exact same time. If one touches before the other, you'll get mixed up. So here, touch the same time, and then here, it didn't. Did you see that? My right leg didn't touch at the same time. Look at this. My right touch first. So you got to be super diligent in making sure that you're doing this properly, or else you're not going to be able to do it at all. Next, we got depth drop, split stance, vertical switches. This is number 5. 3 to 5 reps, 6 sets. This one, the camera angle is a little bit off, but it's okay. On the next one, you'll be able to see perfectly of what I'm talking about. But that front foot needs to have an elevated heel. That's so important. Just like that back one, obviously it wouldn't be as aggressively elevated as the back foot. But you have to land on the ball of your foot on these. You cannot land off-centered or flat-footed. All right, that's super important on the controlling aspect of these. It's like depth drops. If you can't control a depth drop, you need to lower the height of the box. Same with these. If you can't control how high that box is, lower the height of it, because you need to be able to land on the ball of your foot like you do when you're sprinting and explode off of that, and then land again on the ball of your foot in a split stance just like this. So you'll be able to see it more clearly in the next exercise. But we're doing a single switch in midair, and we want to keep this as tight as possible. All right, I don't like how far back this is coming, it'd be better if I can get this knee up higher and this foot closer into me, and even this foot could be a little bit closer in, right? But other than that, it's not too bad. And I would recommend filming yourselves on anything that's a split stance or like a switch, because when I first did these and I watched it back, this foot, I thought I was doing it perfectly. This foot was like super far out. It was like super far out, and I literally couldn't even like show it. It was so bad. So I had to adjust, and it's way better if you film yourself, I promise, because then you'll be able to see what you're actually doing and not just what you think you're doing. And then land in a controlled position. All right, we're just doing one switch here. All right, here's it, slow motion. Jump off that box, land in the split stance. Use your arms correctly in the right way, and then land in a controlled position. All right, now I'm going to explain why we do things in a split stance. So many people train on two legs. They squat on two legs, they do plyometrics on two legs, and that's great. We need to be doing that, but we also need to be doing those weight room movements and plyometrics in two different other ways, on a single leg and in a split stance. All right, they're all three completely different. The difference between double leg and single leg is the same difference between single leg and split stance. All right, split stance is extremely important to also be utilizing. I don't see enough people, doing squats out of a split stance, doing plyometrics out of a split stance. All right, these are what's going to allow you to have better coordination. If you run track, you need to be able to explode at the blocks. And if you play football, you need to be able to explode out of a three-point stance. And not only that, but it does isolate one leg more than the other. So it's like single leg training, but you're able to get lower into the position of where you're starting. As an example, literally right here. If I was training on one leg, I can't get this low on one leg. All right, that's just too hard. Some people, if you're crazy strong, but you can't be explosive out of that position being that low on a single leg. And on two legs, it's just not realistic. You don't play sports on two legs. You play sports on one leg or out of a split stance position. So this is what we need to be training like in order to actually have it transfer over into speed and athleticism for your sport. All right, now this one's a split stance depth drop double switch. All right, so it's the same thing as the last one, but we're switching twice in the air. Just like that. All right, so now we can see how I'm landing on the ball of my foot and my heel is not touching the ground. All right, and I'm super controlled there. All right, I'm not wobbling around, and if I was, then I would have lowered the height of the box because that means I can't really handle it. Obviously, it's okay if you see a little bit of movement, but if my heel were to have touched, then it would have been too high. But I was able to control this position enough to explode out of it and then be able to do two switches. Just like that. All right, this is the position you want to land in comfortably. You'll see a slow motion. I'm using my arms correctly. That's important for the coordination of this. So I'm loading up from the force absorption, and then I'm exploding out of it using my hip flexors and my hands and my coordination to execute that properly. Again, make sure you're filming yourself on these so you actually know what you're looking like, because you probably think you're looking one way and you're not. Like, I thought I was cooking here. Looking back, it's kind of mid. All right, we're on number 7. That means we're getting into some really advanced ones. And to be honest, I'm not going to be able to execute these perfectly, but you'll get the idea. These are Pogos split switches. We're doing 10 to 16 reps for 5 sets. We're going for as short ground contact as possible. And we're doing the same thing as we just were, but we're doing a pogo. We're not double switching it. We're just single switch. You need to land with your weight evenly distributed. That's so important. All right? Evenly distributed, boom, ground contact, explode out of it. Evenly distributed, same time, explode out of it, single switches. And you have to switch legs each time. Make sure you're good at switching on both sides. Sometimes people are super right side coordinated like I am, or super left side coordinated. And these are going to help you identify those weaknesses in your nervous system. Because at this point, we're getting into nervous system training. And especially when we get into number like 10 and number 9, you're really going to be able to identify where your weaknesses are in your fast twitch muscle fibers. Like for me, my left side of my lower body doesn't want to move as fast as my right side because I'm just not as coordinated on that side. But these are going to help you identify those, because they're single side movements. All right, number 8, we got Pogo butt kicks. These are specifically for the fast twitch muscle fibers in your hamstrings. These are going to be teaching your nervous system to allow your hamstrings to fire extremely fast in mid-air, okay? Not pushing against anything, but literally being able to fire and contract in mid-air from uncomfortable positions. And if we're able to do that in the weight room and we're able to, put our hamstrings through difficult exercises like this, then we're easily going to be able to handle top speed sprinting, and our hamstrings aren't going to get injured as often because we're putting our hamstrings through something that is a lot like sprinting, and honestly, specifically for the hamstring muscle, might even be faster than what it is needed to do during sprinting. All right, if we train faster than the speed of our sport, then when we actually get to the speed of the sport, we're going to be fully prepared and ready for it, and our muscles aren't going to get injured because we're not ready for it. All right, so in the weight room, you need to train, you need to over prepare for what you have to do in your sport. And if top speed sprinting is required in your sport, that means you have to do things that are faster than top speed sprinting for specific muscle groups if you don't want them to get injured and you want to actually be fast. So here we're doing pogo butt kicks. We're doing 2 butt kicks in midair in a pogo. You'll see. So people do hamstring curls with weight, and those are good for strengthening them generally, but here we're doing hamstring curls in midair as fast as I possibly can. All right, you do not hold anything back here. You use every ounce of fast twitch muscle fiber you have in your hamstring, and it's isolating it. That's what I like about these a lot too. Obviously, you do a pogo, but you're completely isolating the hamstring here and moving them as fast as you can. These will burn your hamstrings more than you would expect.
Those are supposed to be pogos?
Yeah, those are supposed to be pogos, but they're more like jumps, because not a very good ground contact time. But I'm going to try to be better about that on these next ones.
Again, I'm not claiming I can do these perfectly. I'm just trying to demonstrate. I'm going to try to have shorter ground contact.
My legs were cooked at this point. All right, here's a slow motion. And as you can see here, like I said, my left leg is not as fast as my right. This is literally going to show you where your weaknesses are. And you know what's crazy about this is I actually pulled, I think it was my left hamstring. So it makes sense that the hamstring that I pulled was the one that wasn't able to move as fast, meaning it wasn't ready for those super fast movements like sprinting. And if I were to have done these, then that definitely would have helped with the injury prevention. Maybe it was my right hamstring, I don't know, but what I do know is that as you can see, this comes up, my left is more flexible, but my right doesn't come up as high. But my right is definitely more coordinated, because you saw that snap with the right. The left kind of just dangles right here, whereas the right starts snapping right there and comes back up. So my right is definitely more coordinated. My left might be faster. I can't really tell just from that. I can't really tell from watching these, but when you guys do them, you will be able to tell. All right, it's one thing watching them, but when you're the one actually doing the exercise, you're so focused on what your body is doing, you're able to tell, okay, I'm really having to focus on my left leg right now, because if I don't focus on it, it's not gonna be able to perform the exercise. But trust me, once you start doing these, you'll see that immediately. And use your arms, be aggressive with the arm swing.
Kill your legs way more than you would know. Do not try at home.
All right, number 9, these ones kind of look weird, but they are the fastest nervous system body weight movement that I think you can do. Because all the other ones are either assisted, with a band or with a yoga ball, kind of overspeed training things. But when it comes to straight up just body weight, I think this is the fastest twitch thing that you can do. And I'm kind of a little bit too fast on these, like out of control fast. And if you were to do these right, you would be in a lower position than what I'm in right now. You'd be able to squat a little bit lower and have a little bit more control. You'll be able to tell on these. I don't have full control, but I'm doing it generally correct so you can see. But they're called backwards dribbles because you just want to be dribbling on the ball of your feet, moving backwards, kind of hopping off the ground as fast as possible. So I'm too high right now. I need to be lower in my stance in order to, here, let me move myself, in order to do these correctly. So here I'm a little bit lower, but then I start standing up more. And my left leg right now, I'm really having to focus on. All right, I'm going to show you a good example of how to actually do it. My friend can do it well. I'll show you a slow-mo after I show you my friend doing it correctly. But as you can see here in full speed, my left leg, I'm having to, mentally, you can't really tell just from watching the video, but mentally, I'm having to focus so hard on my left leg because it's not wanting to move and it's wanting to, go to the side or mess up or stay close to the ground when you're having to mentally force yourself to touch the ground and come up off of it. All right, it's wanting to just stay super close to the ground and just do little movements, but you're going to have to force it to come up off the ground. Like my right leg is having way more ground separation than my left. Just watch. It's hard to see, but you'll see the slow-mo. But here's my friend doing it pretty correctly. He could be a little bit lower, but other than that, he's doing this correctly. He has full control when he does this. And he could do that all day. All right? They kill your hamstrings. All right? This is a backside exercise. All right? They kill your hamstrings, but he has full control right here over how fast he's moving. He can move faster or slower from this speed. But yeah, he's doing these correctly and he's getting good separation between the ground and his foot on each little dribble. Here's me doing it wrong. All right? That's me messing up completely and I'm way too high and I'm just completely uncoordinated in this one. My left leg just messed up there. You'll see a slow motion here. All right, see, we are getting separation from the ground and the foot, which is what we want. We want as much as we can while still going as fast as we can. Okay, number 10. This one is extremely complicated, and honestly, I would love to see if anyone can do these. So you can DM me on Instagram or something, a video of you doing these correctly. I'm about to just show you what I got. Pogo double switches, 8 to 10 reps, 5 sets. And we're focusing on as short of a ground contact time as possible, going as high as we can, and switching twice in the air. So let's see. And then I'm going to show you an example of me doing it wrong with my hands. But here my hands are actually doing a lot better than my previous tries doing this, and my ground contact time is in sync with both of my feet. They're landing at the same time, which is good. My hands could have been a little bit better there. Okay, this is me doing it a while ago, and my legs are actually doing pretty well in these, but my arms are completely out of whack. My nervous system had no idea what was happening. It was one of my first times doing these, and I really didn't know how to do these, and as you can see, my arms are showing that I didn't know how to do these and I couldn't handle these. All right, my legs aren't too bad in these, but my arms literally do not know what they're doing, as you can see there. But let me go back and show you the better example with the arms actually working in sync. Obviously, it could be better. I'm not claiming this is exactly perfect, but I'd love to see other people do this. Not because I don't think you can do it, but because I would just be impressed if you could. These are a lot harder than they look. And yeah, so yes, that is the top 10 most advanced plyometrics that you can really be doing. Obviously, there are other plyometrics that I wouldn't really even consider plyos. I would just consider them overspeed training in the weight room when we're getting into things that are even more advanced than that, because those are going to be those things I was talking about with the assisted overspeed stuff with yoga balls and bands. When it gets into that stuff, that's really just straight up nervous system training and straight up overspeed training. It's not really plyometrics. These are, in my opinion, the most advanced when it comes to plyometric nervous system training. So hope you guys enjoyed that one. If this was too advanced and you're like, I literally cannot do any of these, trust me, go watch my last video, because that one is the basics. It goes from the most basic and easiest plyo to we're getting into a little bit harder ones, but all 10 of them are super fundamental and important, and you need to be able to do them correctly. So I'd recommend starting there. If all 10 of those are crazy easy and you can do those on a daily basis and have no problem whatsoever, then obviously you can move into these. Let me know in the comments if this video was helpful, and send me those pogo double switches, because I want to see y'all do those, because I can't do them.